with Ms. Pam Ford. We both are. We're both licensed prevention professionals. And welcome to our 9:30 and 10:30 session on mastering mindfulness. It's going to be presented by Tanya Chapman Griffin and Cecile Washington. Both of those are eye care licensed prevention specialists. Cecile received her master's in clinical mental health counseling from Southern University, and Tanya received her bachelor's in psychology from Louisiana State University and a master's in business administration from the University of Phoenix. Both Tanya and Cecile have practiced mindfulness personally and professionally and serve on the East Baton Rouge School System SEL team, which encourages teachers and parents about self-care practices and benefits to academic success in students. This session will identify mindful practices that focus on mind, body, and strengthen communication in families and communities. Techniques include setting intentions, recognizing attitudes, and breathing exercises. Please place your comments and questions in the chat to be addressed at the end of this presentation. Also, remember to complete the evaluation immediately following the session and receive your certificate. Lastly, contact the eye care office if you have any questions regarding your certificate. I present to you Tanya Chapman Griffin and Cecile Washington.
Good morning. Good morning. And so we're really excited to be with you today. Again, I'm Tanya Chapman Griffin, and my co-presenter is Ms. Cecile Washington. And we have a very special guest, Mr. McKinley Williams, joining us here from Breck Teens. McKinley, would you like to introduce yourself?
Of course. Hello, everyone. How are you doing this morning? My name is McKinley Williams. I am the Breck Team Coordinator for all things Breck Team programs and team events. I'm excited to be here and provide an icebreaker for you guys.
Thank you so much for joining us. And thank you, Pete and Pam, for that wonderful introduction. And so we're going to go ahead and get started this morning. If everybody can mute your mics for me, we're going to go ahead and get started with our Mastering Mindfulness presentation. So as the presentation comes up, we want you to know that we are very excited to be with you here this morning to do this presentation. McKinley is going to join us a little bit later for an icebreaker. But the Mastering Mindfulness presentation has been done with parents, community partners, as well as with staff in the East Baton Rouge Parish school system. And so today we want you to know that we are also licensed prevention professionals, but we are moms as well. Cecile has 3 boys. I have 2 girls, and we like to joke about us having thousands of children. So between us. So we want you to sit back, enjoy this presentation, and engage in the chat. And so we'll go ahead and introduce a little bit about eye care. And so our mission at eye care is to provide prevention education in the areas of alcohol and other drugs and violence. We want to provide that information to students and families in the community. Of course, we support other communities as well. Our overall goal is to equip pre-K through 12th grade students and families in participating EBR public, non-public schools with the knowledge and skills to make healthy lifestyle choices. We actually work with a holistic approach for the entire child to provide healthy coping skills and to just gain the knowledge that they need to make these choices throughout life. And so our 21st century mission statement is new, but it adds some really key points. Eye care will advocate for students, community, and staff to have safe and drug-free schools while also empowering schools and families by providing technology resources, educational resources, and trainings in evidence-based prevention education. So we want to empower, advocate, and educate our students. And so as we move on, we're going to bring McKinley back. Cecile, I'll let you read this quote.
Yeah, Tanya and I came up with this quote. We were so excited. We said that mastering mindfulness presentation is not just the information, it's an experience. And I think we're going to have to brand that quote that we have today. So Mr. McKinley is going to lead us in our icebreaker.
All right. So we're going to do an icebreaker about practicing gratitude. Studies show that when you practice gratitude, it's a sense of happiness and satisfaction by naming what you're thankful for in the moment, shifting you away from whatever is not working. So what I want you guys to do is in the chat on my count of 3. So get ready to type in the chat. What are you thankful for, or what are you appreciative of in this moment? On my count of three, I want to see everybody spamming the chat with what they're grateful for, what they're thankful for. 1, 2, 3. Let's see what we got. Anybody in the chat? Okay, somebody sent a private message. Somebody said family. What else we got? Family and life, good health, life and living. Those are all great things. Eating donuts. Okay, that's a good one in the moment. What else we got? Still having a job during the pandemic. That's a great one. Coughing and connecting with you. Oh, that's so sweet. I appreciate it. The universe. Okay, health. I'm loving the comments. Being alive. I'm grateful for another day to spend with loved ones. Those are all great. Mr. O.T. Griffin. All right. Any more comments? Okay. Well, that was all great. We appreciate you guys' comments. And Ms. Tanya, back to you.
Thank you. And so thank y'all so much for sharing those comments. And thank you, Mr. McKinley, for that icebreaker. And so McKinley didn't just bring an icebreaker with him. He actually brought some door prizes. And so make sure that you are active in the chat. And McKinley, write down some people who are participating because you brought some really good door prizes. I heard we have some Breck yoga mats to give away. We have a nice Breck hat. Can you show the hat that you have?
Yes, it's right here on my head. It's called Breck Teens. We represent for our teens at Breck. So, yes, nice hat. Keep your head warm when it's cold outside.
And so he has some really good giveaways, parents. So we want to make sure that we not just give you information, we give you something tangible as well for joining us today. We can't give you CEUs for being in this session, but we can give you some tangible things from Breck, and we appreciate you tuning in. So go ahead and tell McKinley bye. McKinley, you stay on and keep track of those names for us, okay?
I will.
All right, thank you. And so thank you for participating in that gratitude activity. And so it is great to start with your intentions, with what you want to get out of something, and also great to start with just saying thank you. I am grateful for, even though I'm home, currently quarantined as of last night, I should be with Cecile. I am still grateful and thankful to be able to see her face this morning, to smile, or smiling face, and just to still be able to be connected with parents who are like-minded. And so, Cecile, if you could tell us about what we're going to learn today.
I sure will. And Tanya, I still feel your energy through the screen. So I'm so happy to see you and your smile. So our objective for today is to define mindfulness and self-care and discuss why it's important. And it is very important, just as we are important. And also to identify mental and mindful self-care practices, identify mindful practices for home and our child. We know with everything going on with the pandemic, it is essential for us to also be able to practice with our children, to discuss mindfulness and mind-body connections and create a simple mindful plan for self-care. So what's wonderful about today is that we hope you have your pens and your paper, because you'll actually be able to write down some of the information from the chat box for people who are already using self-care in their daily routine, as well as incorporating some new ones after today. So as we move on, Ty and I would like to tell you a little bit about ourselves. We're very transparent. We'll probably share a lot of different information. This is a very safe space, very non-judgmental. And so my name is, once again, Cecile Washington, and this is my third year with eye care. And I absolutely love my eye care family. We are like friends and family. And of course, I also have my family. So when you look at the picture, those things are very important to me. Those are my three sons in the middle, Alton, Allen, and Alex. They are 9 years old. And they are triplets. And just to tell you a little bit about them, they love to play football. So it's funny, as parents, part of our life becomes also what our children enjoy doing as well. So I'm a graduate of LSU as well as Southern University. During my spare time years ago, I love to read. Now, I still love to read, but that has changed over the years of time. And that's where we talk about self-care, and that'll be in my regimen today. I also love food. I get excited just the thought of it, and I like all types of food. I wish I could be on the Food Network channel as well. And also down to the bottom is my family, and that's just part of them. Those are my brothers and my cousins who I absolutely love, and they are my support system, and I appreciate them. So Tanya, can't wait to hear your picture. I love all the things you have.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm hungry now. So for me again, I'm Tanya Chapman Griffin. Things that I absolutely adore are included. I have two daughters, Layla and Lennox, and my husband, Ontario Griffin, there in the picture. My daughters are 30 months apart, so I tell people they're twins. Feels like it to me. I'm an LSU graduate. I went to East Jefferson High School out of Metairie. I have there, keep calm and listen to your coach, because I actually taught at Bel Air High School post Katrina. A wonderful experience and just very overwhelming, but loved every bit of it. Have been an eye care specialist since 2014, and I'm a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. And I love music, all things music. My husband teaches digital media, but by night he is a DJ. And so by day, I'm an eye care specialist and an educator. And by night, I'm a Zumba teacher. And we love music in my house. My children love music, and they really like to meditate with their dad and myself. And so hence I have Minnie Mouse and I have the super mom there, because I strive to be a super mom. Best. And so I have that there. And yes, go Tigers. So we're going to go ahead and jump to the next slide. And this slide, Cecile, talks about the definition of mindfulness, right? And so in mindfulness, a lot of people think it's a bunch of different things. It's very simple. It is being more conscious and aware of something in the present, right? Something in the present. What you see right now, what you smell right now, what can you taste? If you were to take your tongue and run it along the rim of your teeth, what do you hear? And what are you physically touching, right? So in the present moment. Also, mindfulness is calmly acknowledging your own feelings and state of mind along with your bodily sensations. So that means that if Tanya is anxious about something on the inside, what would that look like? That would look like maybe your heart racing, or your brain thinking of 1,001 things, right? Or maybe physically having clammy hands, or feeling muscle tension. So just being able to recognize what is going on in the present moment around you, right? And a key thing here that we don't put on the slide on purpose is to also be non-judgmental of yourself and others, so that if you want to start to practice mindfulness and you want to start to go deeper into your thoughts, being able to say, I won't be perfect. Like we said earlier, we're moms, we're not perfect, but we're striving to do better. So being able to be non-judgmental of yourself is really, really important. And I think that's the hardest part for me. What are your hardest parts, Cecile?
I would have to say that same thing. But Tanya, as you were talking, I was thinking about your statement that you always say, allow grace for things that happen during this time. And I think about our kids, just with everything they've experienced with the pandemic, acknowledging how we're feeling our emotions, and also acknowledging their feelings and emotions, and allowing them to mimic some of our behaviors that we have as well. So being mindful of my emotions helps me to also teach my children about their emotions and how to respond in different situations. Mm-hmm.
Well, I really like that. So being aware that our children are going to model our behaviors, whether we want them to or not. They're so perceptive. Our kids watch everything we do, what we say, how we move. They can sometimes recognize our fears before we can. They know something is off if we're showing that, whether we know it or not. So I appreciate you bringing that up. And so in that, this slide says mindfulness. There's an internal and an external connection. Okay, there's an internal and an external connection. So we talked a little bit about something with having anxiety. So what I want you to do for me in the chat is to put a type of emotion that you've had in 2020 in the chat. I want you to put an emotion that you may have had in 2020 in the chat box. And so I said that mine was anxiety. Okay, Cecile, what would be an emotion that you have had in 2020 or the beginning of 2021?
I tell you what, Tanya, since you said that, I would say anxiety as well. And I would also say even some symptoms of depression in a sense. And sometimes we're unaware. That's why that mindfulness is so critical, because we can be experiencing things on a daily basis and not know it. And that's one of the things we'll talk about too, how our mind, body, and our emotions connect daily without us even realizing it. But just that sense, we're already isolated. We're already withdrawn from others, or with isolating, it causes us to withdraw even more, or being inside, not getting enough sunlight. So all these things can add to it. But definitely the anxiousness, not knowing what will happen next, whether it's dealing with the current pandemic or current social issues, or just raising children on a daily basis. I would have to go along with you on the anxiousness. Mm-hmm.
Yes, I sadness come up, fear. Somebody texted me directly and said trauma, another anxiety. And so with all of these different emotions, I see again sadness. Thank you, Angelica. Fear, right? So with all of these different layers of emotions, even confusion on top of each other, right? We also have an underlying over and widespread trauma, overwhelmed trauma across the board for everybody, whether you've been directly affected as an individual with your family, or watching other people be sick, right? And just not feel comfortable with everything that's going on. On top of that, civil unrest, right? Things that are happening in our community that we're watching unfold. And then our kids, whether we're talking to them directly about it or not, they are seeing things. They are hearing things. They express the same emotions that we are possibly feeling and expressing, but maybe in a different way, right? And so I see here somebody even put excited for change. So thank you for that, Stephanie. So what are some of the positive emotions that you've experienced in 2020? Because even in the midst of trauma, there's still silver linings. There's still things that we can be grateful for and thankful for. So Cecile, what's something that you can say that you are grateful for or thankful for even in 2020?
Thankful for life. Thankful for the opportunity to grow even more. And so even when we talk about mindfulness, just being able to interact in new situations and learn to be a better self in a sense as well. Mm-hmm. What about you, Tanya?
I am happy to say that quarantined or not, we are resilient. You know, I mean, if we have not learned how to roll with the punches, we thought that just by being parents or educators that we kind of go with whatever is thrown our way. I think now for sure we are able to say we are resilient with a capital R. We're able to bounce back. And so now if an alien comes down and says, Tanya, I want you to, drink this Yoo-hoo and it'll turn you into a ball of light and a superstar, I'll be like, okay, great, thanks. Okay, yeah.
Very flexible.
We'll roll with it, in the chat saying that they're grateful, that they are excited for change. And I think that that's wonderful that we're still able to smile and laugh, even in the midst of going through certain things. And so we want to show that to our kiddos as well. And so grateful for being able to work from home. I'll take it. And so, yes, we are. That's right. And so even in tying in internal and external mindfulness, right? Being able to say, I feel great on the outside, and I recognize what that feels like on the inside, the feeling of peace, calmness, soothing, feelings, relaxation, a lowered heart rate, consistent breathing, right? Not feeling worried or concerned, and being able to tap into those feelings and recognize inside versus outside. The same thing with an emotion where you may be angry or upset. What does that feel like on the inside? Heart racing, maybe a headache, tension in the shoulders and the lower back. Maybe your palms are clenched up, right? So just being aware that everything is connected And being more mindful about that is really, really important as you start your mindfulness journey. And I love that people are still putting positive things in the chat, Cecile. Be feeling renewed, right?
New beginnings. I saw that come up as well. New beginnings in life.
That's right. And so as we go into new beginnings, we're going to go ahead and reset together right now. And so what we love, Cecile told you earlier, we are about an experience, and we want you to have that with us today. So if you can just join us, even though we can't see you, we can still feel your energy through the screen. Go ahead and place your feet flat on the floor for me. And I want you to just relax those shoulders, and you're going to sit upright and lengthen that torso, kind of like somebody's pulling the top of your head and lifting your spine up, not slumped over, but nice and tall. And you can rest your hands on your lap or by your side. And I want us to just go ahead now and take a deep cleansing breath. Take the deep cleansing breath. It's important to remember that you're going to inhale through your nose to the point to where you can possibly hear it. And then you're going to exhale out of your mouth with a sigh. Good. And you want to sigh until the very last bit of breath comes out of your body, right? And we're going to do that three times together with your eyes closed if you feel comfortable. I can't see you anyway. Go ahead and breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. Two more times. Breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. And one more time. In through your nose and out through your mouth. All right, and you can open your eyes, and please share with us in the chat how you feel about that short breathing activity. And I'm going to let Cecile tell us how she felt.
Tanya, you know, every time you do this exercise, I could almost fall asleep. I instantly feel relieved. I instantly feel the tension just leave my shoulders. And that's going back once again, that sometimes we don't even realize that there's tension in our body. So doing these activities really help. And I like the fact that it's immediate. It's nothing that we have to do. We don't have to go to the gym to get it, even though the gym is great, but it's right there. And we can take care of some emotions and some tension, anxiety, all in that brief moment.
So as a parent, I want to say, sometimes we say we don't have time, but just being able to remove yourself from a stressful situation. I'll say homework stresses me out with my third grader. That Eureka math, y'all, is no joke. So I have to remove myself from the situation where I can go and deep breathe. And my favorite room to breathe in is the bathroom. Our little people respect the bathroom. If you're in it, if they're in it. So if you need to go take a quick breath, even at work, go to the restroom and just relax and take a moment to do that. Okay. And people are saying they feel relaxed, refreshed, reset, relieved. And I think we all deserve that. I think we do, Cecile.
Most definitely. All right. So as we actually have touched upon a lot of this already, and that's that mind-body connection. And this part is so essential. So it asks, how are our minds and bodies connected? And we know that our physical being, our mental being, our emotional being all interrelate. They correlate with one another. So for example, if we are experiencing some type of anxiety, we also know that it may cause our hearts to race. Maybe we are feeling some symptoms of depression. It may cause some type of sadness. And all this can not only affect our mental state, but it also begins to affect our mental state. Maybe we are fatigued. Tanya, I heard you mention earlier, maybe we do get a headache. And being mindful of these changes is going to be essential as we go on and we look at mindfulness. Also, if we're having breathing problems, this is also something that's seen physical. But the good thing about it is that there are things that we can do. When we look at what is self-care, self-care is being intentional about taking care of oneself. We are important. just like the things that we do are important, the people around us are important, we take that time and intentionally look at our emotions and say, this is what's going on with me. I'm aware of it. What can I do about it? So the importance of our self-care is that we want to live a quality life. So we want to live, we want longevity, but we also want a quality within that. And we want our children, because once again, we are parents. We want our children to see us taking care of ourselves so that we know it's important to take care of ourselves. And not to genderize it, but I know just listening to some older ladies talk, and even myself, a lot of times we'll put other things before our self-care. Before we know, we're taking children to practice or we're helping them with homework. But it's very important for us to take that time out and take care of yourself as well. And when you think about it, just when we talk about mindfulness connection to self-care, when you think about something important in your life that you take pride in, that you think is very important, and you may have it daily. I'm going to use the example of a cell phone. So with the cell phone, we know that when that battery is about to die, we go and we get a charger. And we want to make sure that battery doesn't die because we need our phone. We know it's important. It's our way of communicating with others. And so we charge it so that it can reset at different points. But we want to do the same thing with ourselves. We want to make sure that we are charging, that we are resetting, that we are in the present moment. Yes, there are a lot of things that are going on around us. We cannot predict the future. And we'll talk about this in our circle of things we can control and cannot control. But it's essential for us to reset so that we can also have restoration in our life. And that just mainly means we're able to relax our minds, our bodies, as well as our physical state. And when you think about restoration, you think of that root word rest. And when we're able to rest, then we're able to renew. And I heard a lot of people put that in their chat box. They want the renewals. They want the relaxation. So when we think about that, think about different ways we can do that. And I believe that's what we'll move on to next, is that why do we need a mindfulness routine? And you can even put some comments in the chat box. Why do you think it's important to have a mindfulness routine in your daily life? And so as you're putting that in the chat box, we'll sort of talk about that. But one thing that it can do is reduce the stress in our bodies. When we think about what happens when we get stressed, there are triggers that may go throughout our bodies. There's cortisol that's secreted throughout our body. And those things affect our emotions. And so when we talk about anxiety, we talk about stress. Stress leads to a lot of complications. And so it's wonderful to know that just by reducing the stress, we don't have to worry about that heart constantly beating, even when we're in a still state. We can reduce our blood pressure at that point just by simple routine and mindfulness. It also helps to improve our clarity and our creativity and boost our productivity. So think about when we are preparing for our daily morning routines. I'm just going to give that example. If we are breathing, someone says it helps to cope. That is so true. When we are taking a routine in the morning, so for example, morning routines with breathing, you may decide, before I start my day, let me take a deep breath. And there's something that's called belly breathing. And I actually learned that from Tanya. And I'm a novice in all this. And so it just merely, you're already laying down in a sleeping position. You're waking up. And as you're starting off, you can put your hand on your chest and you can put your other hand underneath your rib cage, right on your stomach. And what you do is you take a deep breath through your nose and you can hear it, and you just hold it for 3 to 10 seconds, whatever is best for you. And as you release, you make a whistle noise. Okay. And this helps to set the tone. And I'll do that again. And what I'm going to pay attention to, the fact is that my chest should stay down, but my hand on my stomach should go up. And that lets you know that that oxygen is coming into your stomach. And so you breathe in, you hold it for about 3 seconds, and then you breathe out and you make a whistle. And what happens is, someone said it helps us to stay calm and it keeps us focused and it sets the tone. So if you're like me and you have kids that are waking up in the morning, I know my routine is to wake up before they do. And I have to stretch. And I also I have the Alexa on side of me. And so that's another thing you can do in your routine is, if you have any device, put a bell sound on it. Remember, we are doing our self-care. We want to be intentional about our mindfulness routines. And so if you have a cell phone or you're setting on that alarm, there's a bell that you can place. There's an app, And you can have it ring 3 times out of the day to make sure that you take time to stop and breathe. And that's going to offer that clarity there. So all these things help us when we talk about moving forward and being intentional about our mindfulness routine. There are other things that you can do as well. And please share it in the chat box so other people can see what you do during your mindful routine. And we're moving on to next, establishing mindful activity.
And so I want to let's go back one slide for us. And so when Cecile talks about, that's perfect. When Cecile talks about being intentional, on her previous slide, it mentioned co-mindfulness, right? And so it took me a while to understand why co-mindfulness is important, especially as a parent. Usually, Cecile, when our kids come up to us and we're busy, we're trying to cook, we're trying to clean or do something else, even if it's for work, and the kids run up, Mom, I wanna. What's our first answer usually? I'm gonna be real transparent publicly today. My first answer is no. It sounds like it's not gonna be safe. You want to do something that's gonna incur a charge at Our Lady of the Lake. I don't want to have to pay a copay. Remember, we were joking all summer, with having all the kids home, like anything that incurs sounds like it incurs a copay. I don't want to do it. Okay. And so making sure now with co-mindfulness, it actually says that you are able to listen to hear, not listen to respond. And so I'm still learning to do that properly. My husband brought it to my attention first. He said, every time I get ready to say something, you're already telling me the answer because I think I know the answer. That's not being co-mindful, right? So even with our kids, believe it or not, psychology today says that our first answer for our kids should be yes. The go-to answer should be yes. I'm not doing that all the way yet, but we're working on that. What are your thoughts of that, Cecile? How do you feel about that?
So it's so funny when you said that, but I like the idea of the yes, and our children do come to us, and it seems like they come to us all at the same time. And I want to respond to some chats real quick time before I answer that question. Let's see if my mind will let me come back to my original thought. Okay. I'm getting older now, but so we have a link toward the end that is going to say all the apps that we're discussing today. But one of those apps is called Timeless, if I'm not mistaken. Is that right, Tanya? And so this one has a lot of different times on it where you can schedule mindfulness bell parts to put on your phone. And we have an entire list. And so some you can use with your kids as well. It's really wonderful. But yes, Tanya, I like the yes part. And I think I think we were together even on that study. And it was also talking about trauma then too, that saying kids hearing yes often is very helpful so that even when we do say no, it's okay because they've heard yes throughout the day. And it's very healthy for them and boost their self-esteem and other things. Mm-hmm.
Yes. So we're working on it. And so I love this slide. The apps, like Cecile said, we'll cover some at the end. And I also saw iCare Live posted that you now have access to some Nearpod lessons. And so the iCare program can share some parent-friendly, free resources for you. And so you'll see that at the end. And we also will be able to share some ways you can get in contact with us for more. And so we're going to do an activity. Okay, and in this activity, we want you all to think about things that you can control and things that you cannot control. Cecile, help me out. How do we do this activity?
I love this activity. And what I love about activities is once we say activities, the more you do it, it becomes a part of your lifestyle. So I use this activity all the time on a daily basis. So this is a circle where it tells us there are things we can control in life, and then there's some things we cannot control. And so in this circle, there's a larger circle on the outer part. We're going to write the things we cannot control. So for example, the weather. I love Louisiana, but I can't control if it's 20 degrees one day and 80 degrees the next. Okay. What I can control is keeping my summer clothes intact in the closet and my winter clothes on the other side. And so there are things, it makes us feel good to know that there are things that we cannot control because it relieves some tension and it puts in the forefront the energy we can use to control the things we can. So we would love to hear from you all in the next slide, and actually gives it. But before we move to the next slide, write down some things or type some things in the chat box, some things you just cannot control. We'll start off there and we're going to read that, and then we'll go into the things we cannot control, weather being one. And as we're waiting for those chats to come, one thing that you cannot control.
You said weather. I'm a Hurricane Katrina survivor, so that's always my first one is the weather. But my second one is you cannot control when you get quarantined.
That's right.
I can't control that. I could have never imagined that I would have been quarantined for today, for this experience. So that's for me. And I see somebody says the pandemic, Cecile.
Pandemic. We cannot control the pandemic. We cannot control other people. We cannot. That'll go back to that listening exercise too, is that sometimes we want someone to do what we want them to do, but we cannot control that. And it makes us feel better because there are things we can. We cannot control others. So we'll put that in the chat box. Very good. We cannot control other people. That is one that's rampant at this point. And accepting that makes us feel better. And we'll look at that when we see some more examples. I saw one example and it's posted on our next one, is that we can't control if there's toilet tissue on the aisles. We can't control if there's Lysol, okay? Someone put, we cannot control the traffic, especially when we're trying to get to work on time. We cannot control these things. And so there are a lot of things that we cannot control. However, the wonderful thing is that there are some things that we can control, and that's where we put our focus. So the next chat, would you please enter what we can control? And as you're putting that in, I'll read some of the other comments that are coming up, as well as in our cannot control. So in the next slide.
So yes, ma'am. I would like to share. So what I cannot control would be me being quarantined, but what I can control, because you use the word acceptance, is my reaction to being quarantined. So yes, I was sad about it and anxious about it, but I said, well, let me put my best face on. And I have some essential oils in the room with me, believe it or not. Look, everybody. So like we talk about setting the tone, even if in your home. I have essential oils going. This one says intuition, and it's a nice chakra blend of aromatherapy. I have my lighting going. I'm in one room in the house that feels really, really good to me. And so even though my situation isn't what I wanted, I'm still trying to set the tone for acceptance and still to try to feel good. So I see Stephanie put our response. We have control over that.
That's right. That's crucial. And someone, Miss Shannon, put my response as well. That's right. And so our interpretations, that is so important. Okay. And we have different perceptions, and understanding others have different perceptions. We have our perception, our interpretation, our mood. And it's so interesting because even when we talk to our kids, sometimes they say, I'm angry or I'm upset, and I can't control it. And we're so happy to tell them, but you can, even though these emotions may feel that they come naturally. Changing mindset, the way we interpret information, can also change how we respond and change our moods as well. Someone said, what we pick up at the grocery store, we can control that. That's right. To be positive. Ms. Shamika, when you said what we control at the grocery store, I immediately thought about snacks. This is non-judgmental zone, right? I immediately thought I just went to Walmart and racked up on snacks, and I probably should have had some fruits and vegetables in there as well. So that's right, we can control. Someone else put, I cannot control others in there, but I can control my thoughts. Very good. And so this is just an important exercise to do even with our kids, because it helps them to understand the correlation between what we cannot control and then things that we can control. And it makes it easier for them to process it. So a lot of times you hear us saying, as I know a lot of people are teachers or counselors on the line or we're parents, and we have different roles, but the correlation helps students even regulate their emotions, because they realize I can't do anything about this, but I can do something about this. Okay. Ms. Kamush put it, being in the moment, the choices I make. Okay. We all can make different choices. And I think we even had a slide where we mentioned part of that. We can make some healthy choices and we can make some unhealthy choices. And mindfulness helps us to be in awareness of the choices that we are making, so that we can continue to make healthy choices. So as we move on, I think Tanya is about to start. Tanya, did you want to say anything else about our control circle? I absolutely love this activity.
No, I love it. And I think it's so empowering to say, I may not have control over one thing, but I can control this about that thing. Even the toilet paper. Yes, I didn't get enough toilet paper. Yes, I didn't get enough Lysol, but I can still find other methods. I can ask my neighbor, can I borrow a roll, please? Because we're struggling over here, or, asking a sorority sister or a friend, can I just have a couple of squirts of that Lysol? And when I get a can, I'll give you your can back. Like, still being able to just find a way. And that's what we mean by being resilient. As parents, we have had to say, we need to find a way. So we're still able to do that even for ourselves, and to teach our children how to do that. I think that is so important for our kids to know that they can still find a way. Yes, you can. It's kind of cliche, but you can. It's okay if you didn't do well on that test, and even thinking about the power of yet. I know Angelica Johnson is on here, and we talk a lot about just the power of yet, what you say in your words, being able to affirm with them, and speaking into them and saying, you may not have done well on this particular activity or this test, but you will, and that's right now, sowing into them is so important. And then also us sowing into each other is so important, So, as soon as I hopped on the call and you said, Tanya, I see you, I'm happy to see your smile. You sewed into me, and that started a wonderful process for today. So making sure that we're doing it with our kids and taking the time to be intentional to do it for ourselves is so important right now. It's called radical self-care. And that's what we have to do. Radical self-care, going beyond what we would normally do and doing more. Look at that. Look, I didn't even mean to do that. What? Come on, Miss Nikki Washington. Thank you. She's operating from behind the scenes, y'all. You can't see her, but she's phenomenal. And she went right to the next slide. I didn't even mean to do that. Being mindful. Look at that. So what is self-care? Radical self-care right now, everybody. I see you, Angelica. She says, delayed, not denied. That's right. Making sure that we are speaking that. Oh, life and death in the power of the tongue. The chat box is hot right now, and I like it. Being able to say, what is self-care? It is referring to actions, right? And movements that help to maintain ourselves mentally and physically. When we think about our cars, you talked about the phones, and I'm going to talk about the cars here. When your car needs an oil change, that maintenance has to happen in order for that car to run properly, right? If you have a car with 3 tires, what's that going to look like? Like the Flintstones. You need 4 tires, and they need to have air in the tires for you to be able to drive where you need to go. Right? If something is not functioning properly, so that car is gonna look ka-chunka. Ka-chunka. All right. So we don't want to go through life ka-chunka, and we want to make sure that you have everything that you need, the tools to be successful. And so in order to do that, self-care needs to be a part of that balancing process. Self-care enhances your health, right? And it also promotes development. It also has you thinking clearly to make healthy choices, right? For yourself and for your kids. And then also you need it to learn, grow, and to inspire others. So engaging in self-care also helps you to recognize where you may have faults, right? Like I talked about, the co-mindfulness part is a major issue for me. I am really not that co-mindful, believe it or not. I'm working on it, but I'm able to acknowledge, Cecile, you said that word earlier, that is an area that I lack. And we've talked about that before for me, being co-mindful, especially with my children. Okay, so self-care, good job. So self-care here, the next slide I think goes into, there we go. Let's back up some. There we go. The proper self-care plan. So this is a great example of the plan that we want you just to take notes of. It has 3 main categories: mind, body, and spirit. But there are sample plans on the internet that have more areas, right? And so each area needs attention. Okay. So for your mind, if you can put for me in the chat, what are some things that you could do to strengthen your self-care plan for your mind? Put that in the chat for me. What are some things you could do for self-care strengthening in your mind?
And as people are entering, as everyone's entering their thoughts in the chat box, I just have one thing to say. You are part of my self-care. We joke, Tanya and I tease about this all the time. Tanya makes me laugh. We're sure she has great energy. And I'm more than sure those who know her on the line can say the same thing. But I think laughter is so important. And so, surrounding yourself around people who have positive energy like that can also help with the mind, as well as the spirit and as well as the body. Mhm.
Oh, I like that. Okay, so I'll add to that. And we're still looking for you all to put things in the chat. So Cecile said surrounding yourself with positive energy, but also protecting your peace can be one. So, if you know that a certain situation or a certain person, like we talked about, you can't control people, a certain person can suck you dry, suck your energy dry. Make sure that you are protecting your peace and setting boundaries. I see somebody put here meditation. Good for the mind. Reading, journaling. Thank you, Chelsea. It's my dance sister. Prayer, counseling. That's right, Miss Beverly. If we need that, that is okay to do that, especially now, knowing when to ask for space and support. Affirmations, right? Mantras, journaling. I say coloring, taking time alone, right? Positive thoughts. That's right, Tirza. Exercise, yes. Oh, thank you. Oh, you're on mine too. Taking time for yourself and taking time to breathe. All amazing things. Coloring, doodling, things that you go back to. Childlike play is important. Reading an encouraging book, right? Protecting your peace. Yes. I was hooked to CNN, y'all, and I had to say, I have a headache every night. I can't go to sleep. And my husband said, because you're watching Chris Cuomo every night. So being able to stay away from that. That's right, Miss Jane. Avoiding toxic people and keeping your peace of mind is everything. These are amazing, Cecile. And Dr. Thornton says, accepting only what you can control. That's right. That word acceptance is so powerful. Paying attention to nature, walking barefoot with the kids, right? Play, simple play, easy play, getting enough sleep, making sure you're getting anywhere from 7 to 10 hours, parents. 7 to 10 hours is essential. Listening to music. We're back to that music, James. And rest, creating me time. I love it. Recognizing negative triggers. Yes, being aware. We talked about that awareness. And so as we look to body, Cecile, what are some examples of body that you have?
So we talk about self-care for our body. I think Miss Adams posted one, and I was looking as well, the exercise part. And I know we always say, I'm going to exercise, I'm going to do this. But once again, we talk about self-care and we understand how important we are and how, once again, the connection between mind, body, and spirit go hand in hand. And I know that we are monitoring cholesterol. We are monitoring our heart. We are monitoring all these other things going on in our bodies. So taking time to care for our bodies the proper way, knowing what we're putting into our bodies, the nutrition. And I believe someone posted that as well. And we know that different types of food can have different reactions on our body. And we are unique. Going all the way back to that quote Ty and I said, it's not just the information, it's the experience. So therefore, our uniqueness causes our self-care plan to look a little different sometimes. And I can say, even for myself, since COVID, my self-care plan had to change. And so maybe 2 years ago, I listened to my music, and I absolutely love music. I wake up to Maxwell sometimes. But now meditation, breathing is so essential, especially when I see that it's difficult to breathe sometimes. I am mindful of that. And so that I'm mindful of it, now I'm going to intentionally make the changes, and it's never too early or too late to start. So I'd say exercise, big component. Touching the morning dew on the rose flowers. Just enjoying and being grateful for the things that we have right in front of us are so essential. And the beautiful thing about science and nature is that all that helps us as well. Being outside helps with our breathing, it helps with our intake, it helps with our endorphins, it helps. Any others in the chat box for the body that you can do? I know a relaxing bath. Someone said yoga, and that handles the mind, spirit, and the body. Soothing and calming music. Thank you, Miss Charlotte.
I love these.
All these are great. These are great.
I love all of these. And so the awesome thing about the self-care plan for parents is that our kiddos can also create one for themselves. So our kids can have one. So I see Paula said laughing all day, every day, Paula. We love to laugh, and that also burns calories. Getting a massage, right?
I want to say something, Tanya, too. You know, it's good to share information. I heard a young lady say for the massage, because we talk about things we can't control and things we can. She said, well, I couldn't go out for the massage. She still had a little anxiety about it. She said, but she had someone come into her house and it wasn't as expensive as she thought. So, you know, finding new methods of doing things is also great as well. So I'm sharing that with everybody.
And I see Miss Jane here, one of my my Zumba participants. We started doing Zumba in the COVID from my living room into their living rooms. And so we do it. We've kept it going for almost 9 months now, twice a week. And it is therapeutic spiritually and mentally. And we're also getting our physical fitness in. And so we love just sharing with each other. So making sure that you still tap into a group of people that help you feel good, right? So Cecile and I talk about being around each other, but also finding a group of people outside of work or in your family that make you feel good and that you can talk to and just kind of like go back and forth with right now, and still taking those deep breaths. And so we're going to go ahead and continue on to the next slide. And it says the 4 pillars of self-care: our support system, daily living activities, physical health, being productive, and a creative life. And so as you see that seat there, if you take one of those legs off, like I talked about that Flintstone car, if you take a leg off, Cecile, that seat is going to fall. We can't sit there. So you need all of these pillars. And let me go through them quickly. Reaching out to those who support you for fun and even just to chat. We talked about that. Daily living activities, knocking something off of your to-do list, but not beating yourself up about it if you can't get it done. Encouraging more physical health, doing your best to have a bedtime routine, making sure that you're eating properly. You talked about feeling a little off about breathing and saying, I need to do more belly breathing to kind of like practice that, recognizing those things. And then even saying, have I seen a doctor lately? And not being afraid to go to the hospital or the doctor. And then lastly, being productive and creative. Doing something that gives you meaning, something that you value, that you feel good about. We talked about the coloring with your child, hugging your child more, especially in this time, is something great to just reconnect physically with those that you can do that with. Okay. And we're going to go ahead and go to the next slide. Okay, we talked a lot about the self-care implementation tips, scheduling it in. Cecile mentioned putting that bell up, right? Making sure you have something on your watch or your cell phone to remind you about breathing or to remind you to take a breath. Making a list of your favorite activities. Starting the day off right. Cecile, you said waking up to Maxwell, right, and breathing and setting the tone. Creating your absolute no list. With this one in particular, this is saying, it is okay to say no to something because you can't get it all done, and being non-judgmental. So putting a list of things down that you won't get done. So for today, Cecile, I will not work out today. It's not going to happen. This is it. You all are my workout right now. I'm not working out.
And it's breathing activities and tighten our abs. So that work, that counts.
That's it. So no. And then the last one says selecting one bigger self-care activity this week. So last week, if we did belly breathing, this week we can do maybe belly breathing and yoga and touching the dew on the flowers, like Dr. Thornton said, right? Adding to that and making sure that you are including your children in that process, in the planning and the implementation. Here we have relaxation and resiliency. We love the word resiliency because it simply means to be able to bounce back. Baton Rouge family, wherever you are, we have been through a lot. We've been through hurricanes, earthquakes, floods, unrest and more unrest, homeschooling your own kids and other students, technology issues, all these things, and we have bounced back, right? And so making sure that you acknowledge the fact that you are a survivor and that you are resilient is so important. And so making sure that you tie in relaxation and resiliency works beautifully. Cecile, do you want to add anything to the relaxation and resiliency?
And so we covered so much already with that. And going back to what you said, the beautiful part about, and I love that word beautiful, so I use it. We talked about control circle and our inner circle. Our kids are able to be resilient. And so anytime we have those negative thoughts that come into our minds, just to help out, saying, you know what, kids are resilient. We are resilient. We can bounce back, like you said. And also finding that time to relax. I know some people mention the baths, the mindfulness. That is so important because it relaxes everything in our bodies.
That's right. And I do want to say we have resources coming up, but the CDC has said that resiliency and relaxation helps in the healing process, physically with coronavirus, and the mental and emotional components, like depression of coronavirus. So let me say that again. The CDC has articles that are targeted specifically about relaxation and resiliency that help in the healing process of fighting coronavirus physically and emotionally and mentally, because that virus not only targets the physical body, but also mental and emotional aspects. So tying in relaxation and resiliency together assists with that. Okay. And so we have some downloadable apps here. I know some people in the chat mentioned Headspace. Cecile, you said Timeless, and we love free, y'all. These are some apps. Take a picture of it and feel free to use it. Relax Melodies allows you to create musical sounds to piece together, like white noise and rain on a tin roof, and you can play that throughout the night. Soul Technologies is run by someone here. Her name is Dee Dee Poulard in Baton Rouge. She has a web page, and she has some free YouTube videos and yoga nidra, deep meditations you can do at night to just soothe and relax, and they're amazing. So we wanted to make sure you have those resources. Take a picture of that. And our next one, little kids love Sesame Street, Breathe, Think, Do. Elmo is blowing bubbles and doing the right thing. When he ties his shoes and he doesn't tie it right, he gets upset, and his friends are saying, "It's okay, Elmo. You can't tie him yet, but let us help you." So the power of yet is still there and present for our little kids. Breathe Kids, Stop, Breathe, and Think. Relax Melodies again with the white noise. We love Cosmic Kids Yoga. If you haven't checked it out on YouTube, feel free to do it. We're stuck in the house and the kids need physical activity. Cosmic Kids Yoga is great for a rainy day, a sunny day. Check it out. It's different things for girls and boys. And also Mind Yeti is a part of our social emotional learning curriculum with Second Step. But for parents, Cecile, I believe they have a free download for, is it 2 weeks or 6 weeks? It's something for Mind Yeti, but go to that website or search it, Mind Yeti. And again, Soul Technologies is there. And so thank you so much, Charlotte. She said the Calm app is awesome. So we have some parent testimonials in the chat saying that our apps are great. And we love that.
Tanya, you saw me move my face. I was trying to check for you because I couldn't recall that information. And I just want to add too, with these apps, I've seen a lot of the schools include this in the apps. And of course, I have a son in the school system. And so at River Oaks, I know that they use some of these. And what's funny is that my son will come back and he will say exactly what he heard. So it's essential for the kids. You know, they're going to stop, they're going to breathe and think. So that gives them something to put in their tool bags to help them when they are not with us. And they're living their daily lives as well.
That's right. And so, Cecile, we're going to insert this really quickly because I think they deserve it. You talked about breathing in and holding and then exhaling. We're going to do a couple of seconds of that. So I want everybody to breathe in for 3. You're going to hold that breath for 3. And then I want you to exhale for 6 seconds. And we're going to do 3 repetitions of that. Okay. Again, you're going to breathe in for 3, You're going to hold that breath for 3, and then you're going to exhale for 6 seconds. And I want you to go ahead and have your feet flat on the floor again. Rest your hands down. We're going to practice this wonderful breathing activity that Cecile mentioned earlier. You can close your eyes and your chest is lifted. Let's go ahead and inhale for 3. 1, 2, 3. Hold the breath. 1, 2, 3. And exhale for 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Good. Inhale for 3. Hold for 3. Exhale for 6. Last time, inhale for 3. Hold for 3. Exhale for 6. And you can go ahead and open your eyes. All right. And so with that particular breathing method, you can do 3, 3, and 4. You can do 4, 4, and 6. We did 3, 3, and 6. I wanted the exhale to be a little bit longer for you, but you can modify and you can do that with your kiddos at home. And so just as we become accustomed to wanting to do that more, to take a moment intentionally to take a break, your kids will do the same thing. And so it's great to use the YouTube resources we provided, because they can kind of help warm your kids up to stopping and meditating. Even though it's a short meditation, there are some 5-minute meditations on YouTube that are really good and kid friendly. And eventually we'll put that on our iCare website for you all. But we want to make sure that we allow for any questions or concerns, and also to put up our social media information as well. Go ahead, Cecile.
And so, of course, you can reach us at Facebook at iCare EBR, as well as Instagram and Twitter. And please feel free to follow us. And if you, we are also on all these items. So we put a lot of information on our websites as well. So Ms. Shannon said, thanks, lady. I enjoyed this presentation. We're so glad that you all enjoyed the presentation, and we hope to have more upcoming where we're actually on the floor. So we're going to advance, and we'll ask with those routines, how are they? And we can see the advancement at that point. So thank you all so much for joining us today.
Yeah, and does anybody have any questions that you'd like for us to answer while you have us? Any questions or concerns? And we'll go ahead and put the reference slide up now as well, if you want to take a picture of the resources. Any questions? Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. We really appreciate it. And so again, any questions about mindfulness, meditation, self-care with the little ones? Thank you, LaToya. All right. So if we don't have any questions or concerns, again, I'm Tanya Griffin. This is Cecile Washington. We are so excited to be part of the mindfulness team for the iCare program in the school district. If you ever need us, again, feel free to reach us via our phone number. And that is our web address. We have iCare Live on YouTube, as well as Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And Beverly, you're asking for us to share our PowerPoint and information. We can definitely do that. We can do that. And thank you so much for joining us. Cecile, any closing words?
Thank you, everyone. And I can't wait to see everyone in the upcoming few months. Thank you.
Thank you all.
It's so nice to see